First, authorities in Ukraine say Russian airstrikes have killed at least one person in Kherson. Air raid alerts were issued throughout the country, including the capital, Kyiv. Most of the projectiles were reportedly shot down by Ukrainian air defenses. Russia resumed its missile attacks on Ukraine this past Friday, and over the weekend, Ukrainian drones struck an oil depot in Crimea. All this comes as Ukraine gears up to launch its spring counter-offensive. We can now go across to France 24's Gulliver Cragg, standing by in Kyiv. Gulliver, good morning to you. What more details do we have on these strikes overnight, and what are they trying to achieve?
Well, I think the Russians' purpose has changed from what they were doing with these periodic mass strikes throughout the winter when they were targeting Ukraine's electricity infrastructure. That doesn't seem to be what they're doing now. Lately, there have been somewhat fewer missiles and drones involved, and the Russians say that the targets are military targets. It may be that they are aiming at military targets and just missing. There's some evidence for that, as I found in Uman when I went there, that there is actually what was at least at some point a military barracks about a kilometre from the building that was hit there. Maybe that's what they were aiming for, but they missed. A lot of Ukrainians think that they're just aiming for civilians anyway, or at least that they regard damage to civilian buildings and civilian infrastructure as a sort of collateral benefit. There's more evidence to support the idea that civilians are being deliberately targeted in Kherson, where we're talking about shorter range artillery coming across from the Russian-occupied part of Kherson region to Kherson city, which the Ukrainians took back from under Russian occupation, because there's a sense that the Russians want people in Kherson to think that times were better under Russian occupation, that now they're in danger, and that there may be a desire to have an impact on the civilian population there. Elsewhere in Ukraine, it may well be that they're aiming for military targets and missing. Pavlograd was the worst hit overnight. That's a city in Dnipropetrovsk region in eastern Ukraine, or at least the outskirts of Pavlograd. An industrial site there was what was hit, but there were also 26 civilians who were wounded. I've heard some reports that there were missiles stored there, with some Ukrainians saying that they were old missiles that were out of commission. Anyway, Russians claiming to have destroyed an important Ukrainian stockpile of S-300 missiles.